Hi, well, good afternoon. Here I have the Tektronix 223A with the that had the vertical gain issue. And so what the little red tag, if you remember the little red tag, was saying was that at 50 kilohertz it needed 680 millivolts of deviation to go six divisions. And so if we look here, you can see that I have the item here. So let's see, probably may not be able to get some additional light on that. I have it set to 100 millivolt per division, and I have my Rigol set to 600 millivolt, and we'll see that it has 5.4 divisions to go. So instead of going 6 divisions for the 600 millivolts, going 5.4. And if I change my output to 680 millivolts, oh, that was 68. Hang on, let's try that again. And reposition that from peak to peak. You can see there we go. So at 50 kilohertz, we are in fact getting the 6 divisions. So what I want to go do now is to come back here and go into the manual for this unit, and we're going to see if we can adjust the vertical gain and see if that makes a difference to the output here. And if it does, then the unit will probably be good to go. If it doesn't, we might have to look deeper into what the issue is. Anyway, let's take the cover off and take a look inside. Okay, so now I need to get into the back to get these screws out. And they're little Torx screws, so let me see if I've got my Torx screwdriver of the right type. And I do, so let's take this back panel off. And I can see me take the little screws out here. And it had a calibration seal on it. When I got these, one of them wasn't working, and so I had to take this back off. To put the one of the deflection power connectors back onto the tube. So there we've got that. So that should, I think, just slide out. Hang on. There's another little screw there. There we go. So that is going to be, let's see if, that's also a little Torx screw, but I don't think I have. No, I don't actually have something that'll fit into that. So often what you can do with these guys is you can get a just a little flat blade screwdriver, and it'll fit across the little divots to give you enough capability to actually go in and screw out the little the little screw. So now there's another screw there, which is this guy, and it looks like it's also one of those. You can see there's another screw here. So that one's going to be one of these guys. So let's take this guy out. Okay, let's put all of those together. There we go, that's better. So now I will need to move the bail. Okay, and here we go. So let's turn this over and take a little look at what we see inside. And this in here, you can see here's the CRT tube with the little delay line. There we can see a little delay line just wrapped around the back of the tube there. Power supply. It's like a single board, got a nice little, you can see some of the little switches and things like that. So we will want to get in, and I'm not an expert in these guys, so I have no real idea how they have put this together, but it looks reasonably clean. I do like the fact that on the bottom of the board here, they have the silk screening, so if you need to go and check components, you're not going to be trying to poke in here. You can actually just go to the bottom of the board and check the through-hole. That's one of the things that you miss from the move to surface mount components here. And you can see this is a fairly standard layout for the time, or a lot of things done vertically or horizontally. Looks like it was hand laid out a little bit. You can see there's some tracks in there that aren't look like they've been manually routed to go through to points, so it's probably hand laid out. Anyway, what do we want to modify? We want to come in and we're going to adjust R145. So let's see if it is one of the marked. It's not one of the marked items, so I'm going to have to go hit the manual and see where R145 is. Okay, so it looks like we've got, if we take a look inside here, you'll see there are these potentiometers, these pots all set at 90 degrees so we can get a screwdriver in on the side, and they're going to be that's at least channel 1 gain is in there, and then where is channel 2 gain is going to be 195. So let's see what, yep, so 195, and that's example of being able to look onto the bottom of the silk screen here, because you can see over here there's 145, then 195 is next to it, and if we take a look back in here, you have 195 in here and then 145 there as well. So looks like we'll be able to do the 195. You take 145 for an exact 5 division display, then we adjust 195 for exact 5 division display, then we set output to 10 millivolt, then we adjust the 2 millivolt gain R76, and then R26. So now looking a little closer, we have R26 and R76 over here on the attenuator board, which is this guy here with the switches, then clearly the channel attenuators that were in under the cover here. So we're going to change those to get our peak, then we'll use these to set the 2 millivolt gain. And then we should be able to check to see if everything's all hunky-dory. Now let's turn this guy on. Okay, so it says set set seconds for 2.2 milliseconds. And then set it's going to set to yeah, so that should give us, you know, now if we position this, okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're missing a little bit. Alright, so now what are 145? Just get a different thing here with a slightly smaller tip. There we go, that looks pretty close to 5 divisions there. Okay, so now let me just spread that out a little bit. Yeah, so now let's try. Just take a look and see what it looks like at 10 kilohertz. It's still about 5, okay. Let's try 100 kilohertz now. Still about 5. Let's try 20 meg. Still about 5. There we go. So I'm guessing based on that, they just simply marked it down and didn't try to make a change to it. So all I had to do was make a little change to the gain, and that seems to have brought it back into spec. So it says, you know, with deflection accuracy. Okay. Well, let's actually drop this now down to a 5 millivolt signal, and let's see if we can get the trigger. Just have the trigger go auto. Okay. Let's get the trigger, see if I can get the trigger in there. So go. That's a 20 meg, so let's just slide that back in. So now we should be at about 2.5. If we look at the center gradical there, we're just a bit more than 2.5 on the lower setting. So let's go to say 5 volts peak to peak. And just a little above there as well. So if we just give it just the lightest touch. So now I've got a 50 kilohertz again. Slip that time down. it. I think that's probably pretty good. So there we go. Let's take a look at channel B. That's channel 2. Let's take it down to 2 volts there. And if we position here, horizontal a little bit. So we're a little big there, so let's see if we can get in and just give that just a subtle tweak down the way. So I think we're pretty good. So it looks like all you would need to do to get this to come good would be actually it's probably good, but to get it on spec is just to go through all of the calibration steps and give it a try. So when you are bidding on stuff, the little red tag doesn't always mean that the thing is actually kaput. Often what it can mean is simply that they tested it, it was outside of the range, but they didn't bother trying to adjust it. Typically, and I'm not saying these Bionetics, I've never heard of these guys, they could be very, very good. Typically when you send away to the manufacturer for a calibration, the manufacturer calibration will include the calibration and any adjustments required to bring the device back into calibration. And so they'll basically try and calibrate the unit and adjust it, and then if they can't calibrate it, at that point they'll generate a fail for the calibration and they'll ask you whether or not you want to repair it. I sent away an 8902A to Keysight, and that was basically the same thing that they did. They went through it and they said everything calibrated except for the input amp, SWR and amplification. Would you like us to give you a quote to repair that input amp? And I had them do that, and the quote was $8,000, which I didn't take them up on, but the point is that they will try and do the adjustments to the unit. Typically the third-party guys have 2 types of calibration. They will do just the calibration approach, which is go out, test it, hey, it doesn't work, they'll write fails calibration and return the unit to you, or they'll do calibration and adjustment. So in this case, I'm guessing that the FAA just sent these out for calibration, and when they came back and said they weren't calibrated, they then wrote them off, whereas had they sent them out for calibration and adjustments, the Bionetics guys probably would have popped the covers off, calibrated them, found they were out, tweaked those things, and then put them and sent them back and passed them into calibration. Anyway, that was a fairly simple fix, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Catch you later. Bye.